What does research look like in Zambia? Our two fellow scientists, ZUZANA and LENKA, spent 3 weeks in Zambia, Africa, researching climate change. Let's look at the details in a series of short videos with their engaging story. What does research look like in Zambia?
The research that we conducted in Zambia was qualitative in its nature. So what does it mean to do a qualitative research in Zambia? So practically it means that we conducted lots of interviews, focus groups, but also so-called non-participatory observation, which means that we are collecting data by being in the area, observing, by having non-formal talks with people, and that's all feeding to our data set. So when we are doing the interviews or the focus groups, so we usually have some sort of structure, some predefined questions that might, of course, vary as the interview proceeds. And by these questions, we are trying to tackle the important issues that are interesting for us. But of course, during the analysis, we are not focusing specifically only on these questions, because very often some teams are emerging as we doing the analysis, as we are coding these interviews. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. And when we are doing the interviews, so we are recording them, then after it we are transcribing them. And it might seem quite simple, right? To go to the field, talk to people, transcribe the interviews, but it's actually quite a time-consuming work, I must say, because the interviews are usually about 1.5 hours. Then the transcription process is depending on the interviews, like from 6 to 10 hours. And then the analysis itself is about like repeatedly reading the interviews. So imagine how long does it take you to read once, I don't know, 10 pages of text, but you have to read these multiple times, think critically during this. So in fact, the whole analysis might take us, for example, half a year to do it properly. And of course, what's also important is that we are not doing this analysis on ourselves. We are a team of researchers. So all of us are doing our separate analysis, and then we are talking together. And by this, we triangulate the outcomes.
And what about connection between society and environment?
The other part of the research that we did in Zambia was so-called systems mapping. And what it means is that you're trying to capture all the different connections between society and the environment that people are mentioning in the interviews. So it means that you're trying to listen to what relationships or like what causalities people talk about in their interviews, and you're trying to draw a systems map, draw a map of what are all these different elements that are important in nature and in society for people in the case study area, and you're trying to find and capture the relationships between these elements. So how we can imagine this is that people are talking about, for instance, the problems that they have with their livelihoods, what are the issues that they're facing in agriculture and in other professions. And of course, these problems have different causes, both on the environmental side and on the social side. So you're trying to draw a diagram that is capturing all these different causes for all these different issues. And why you do it is that you are trying to see if, besides the very apparent problems, such as climate change or the impact of poor soils, you can also find more hidden issues, more root causes of what is happening, because there is a lot of research in sustainability science that shows that targeting these deeper causes, deeper issues, is what quite often works better. So for instance, quite often people are facing a situation when they are farming their fields or they are logging their forests because it is the most accessible way of making a living for them. But quite often these ways of making a living have quite substantial impacts on the environment and on natural resources, meaning that people can do those livelihoods now, but they might be in danger of affecting these livelihoods for the future. And quite often when we target international development cooperation, we are trying to find ways how people could do something different. But in a way, they still get motivated to keep their old professions because the market is there and the demand for their products is there. So, for instance, an example of what our analysis shows is whether it, for instance, would be more effective to target the demand side of the market, to target what people are trying to buy, what people are trying to get on the markets. Because if we change that demand, if people start asking for different products, it might be the chance that people in agriculture and in forestry might be motivated to produce different, more sustainable products. So that's one example of why the systems mapping that we have been doing is effective.